Today's show, we're going to be talking about traveling with autism. Are we going to be traveling by bike? We're going to be traveling by any mode of transportation. Yeah, get those wheels rolling or just get the body moving or whatever it may be. But we're going to be traveling with autism. I'm just being funny, everyone. Yeah, I just always try to put a funny joke in here. But yeah, today's show, we're going to be talking about traveling with autism with my guest. So stay tuned. And we're going to do a 5 minute little intro of another topic just at the top of the show. So stay tuned for that too. Join me up next. Hello, and thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies podcast. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host, coming to you from Victoria, British Columbia. A nice, hot, sunny day. It's going to get up to about 30 degrees today. Relative humidity, approximately about 32, 33. So it's going to be a hot one. Maybe about 18 by the water. So if you want to soak up the sun rays, but still stay a little bit cool, go to the beach. And today's the 30th of June already. Wow. Tomorrow, July 1st, Canada Day.
Well, you notice that I'm wearing my red.
I see that.
Yeah, because I figure we're not doing a Canada Day show, so I thought, well, I'll wear my red early.
Yeah,
So
that's great. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about traveling with autism with my guest, Peter Cunnington. Hello, Peter. Thanks for joining me today. Great to have you on the show. And also at the top of the show here, we're going to be talking about a very, very pressing topic. So with that being said, I'm going to hand the mic over to you, Neil, and you can take the conversation in that direction. And then after we've done that, we're going to join back with Peter Cunnington, and Peter may join in with the discussion with Neil on the topic that we're going to be talking about. It's not the traveling with autism to begin, but we will be blending back into that momentarily. But there's just a media announcement on our show that we want to put out there to the public to let the public know our viewpoint on a very pressing topic. I'll call
Well,
it.
not just the public, Brent, but the politicians, right?
And the politicians, yes.
Yeah.
Most
And let's just get into it right
yeah.
away. You know, definitely if you're here in BC, you'll know the story. There's Charlie Pollock. It's a 9-year-old girl living in BC. She's got Batten disease. It's called Batten disease. And there's a very painful, it's a neurological disease. There's no cure for it. We have to say off the top, there's no cure for this Batten disease. She will die from the disease. There's no cure. She will die from the disease. But what's happening here is for her whole life, I think basically she's so far, this 9-year-old girl, has been taking this drug called Benura. It's this drug called Benura, and the drug has worked to reduce very, very painful seizures, reduce the number of very painful seizures that this girl would otherwise experience. So it's been a very effective drug that way. And again, to stress again, she will die from the disease. It's not a cure, so she will die, but the drug does dramatically reduce the number of seizures that this girl has. And so knowing that she's, we have to say as well that this drug, this Brineura drug, it's very expensive. It costs $1 million per year to fund the drug. So again, it's not inexpensive by any means. But the Ministry of Health here in BC has funded the drug for a number of years. So there are the budgets for that, right? But just recently, the BC government here has decided that they're not going to fund the drug anymore because, according to their quote unquote experts, have said that the drug is no longer working. That there's certain what do you want to call it? There's certain
criteria.
Benchmarks. There's certain benchmarks where of the disease where the so-called experts have said to a point that the drug is no longer effective anymore. Now I say that with the caveat is that is that the girl's own caregivers, like her mom and the doctors that are directly responsible for the girl, have been on public record and said that the drug is helping her. And again, the drug is helping her in the sense that it's dramatically reducing her seizures, so much so that she's able to regularly attend school, right? But yet the BC government is dug in its heels, especially David Eby, our BC premier, has dug in his heels. We have Josie Osborne, the Minister of Health here. She's dug in her heels the same thing, and said, Eby said that the politicians should stay out of it. That for some reason this might be a worse decision. This might be a worse decision to have the politicians weighed in on it, to wade in on a situation like this. And I just want to go on record. And again, we have to stress that we don't want to play political football here. I don't want to play political football here, but I just wanted to spend the 5 minutes, like I said, because you've developed a very powerful platform here, Brent. And I mean, I've been very vocal the last little while on Twitter to say that I don't appreciate the decision that David Eby has made, but we haven't really talked about it on the podcast yet. So I just wanted to kind of, on public record here on the podcast, say that I don't support the decision that David Eby has made. And again, there is a article, and maybe I'll put the link down in the description. It's not there yet, but I'll put the link down in the description after this show ends. It's from Royce Krupp. He's a Winnipeg Sun journalist, and he did a really excellent article. And basically, the last part of the last kind of big line that he said, like the mic drop thing that he said, was politicians need to be the ones making tough decisions. And that's just bang on, because again, you have to remember that David Eby has spent, ever since the election, he has spent, and the last election was in late October of 2024. Ever since the election, our legislature, our BC legislature, has been preoccupied with this whole Bill 7 and Bill 14 and Bill 15, right? To give the government extraordinary powers to flex their muscle against Trump, right? Like, you have to give me, this immense power. You have to give me this immense power to make all these really hard decisions, difficult decisions. And yet here you have a decision where, it's basically the bulk of the people that are saying, we have to cut this drug are basically, like we said before we launched the show, it's basically pencil pushers in the Ministry of Health, that have basically said, I think we should, and I'm not saying that there are doctors that have said, maybe this drug isn't working anymore, but the doctors that are directly involved with the girl, that Charlie Pollock, have said it's definitely helping reduce the seizures.
Most definitely.
So again, I don't want to turn this into a political football game, but I just want to go on public record and say it's a really bad decision, and it's another. I have to say it's another really bad decision, right? Like it just seems like ever since David Eby has won the election since October, it's just one really bad decision after bad decision after bad decision.
Well, with the medication that's helping to keep down the seizures and other symptoms that are related to her disease, it's keeping her quality of life sustained. Like I understand that it's a deteriorating medical disease. That ultimately, yes, a decision eventually will be having to be made from her parents, right, and her caregivers. Now, but keeping her quality of life, where she's able to go to school and participate with her pupils in the school and her surroundings that she knows. Without that medication, her quality of her life, it actually escalates more. So, in my opinion, is I echo what her parents are saying. What her mother is saying right now is that her doctors, I mean the doctors for for the little 9-year-old little girl. I mean, I envy her with her ambition to keep going as long as she can, and her parents to help her with that. And but with the researchers saying, oh well, they're not communicating with the doctors, the caregivers. But now you've got a minister and a premier who's saying, oh well, I mean the data is there. I mean it's not working. Well, talk to the doctors directly. Talk to the mother. Communicate. It's all about communication, everybody.
And that's the thing, is that we have to say that there's no cure.
Yeah.
This girl will die for sure. She will die. But the fact of the matter is that the disease is so rare, that Spaten disease is so rare that there's very little data on it, right? So to be so dogmatic and say that the drug is no longer working when there's so little data to begin with, and we need to stress too that BC will be the first. Oh, maybe you can take it. Maybe you can take this one, Brent.
BC will be the first province in any, and within Canada also, the province of BC within Canada, all our provinces, territories, and anywhere in the world, only jurisdiction to discontinue funding for a drug that's actually maintaining, not curing, but maintaining symptoms down. BC. I mean, do we want to be the province in the world, anywhere in the world, a jurisdiction to say we're not going to fund a medication for a child? I mean, the government will spend billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars on a whole bunch of things, but you can't go and spend up to $1 million a year, and just for who knows how many years, just to sustain the little girl's quality of life. I mean,
I think
it's not a good look. It's not.
I mean, we should. I mean, Peter's been sitting here very quietly. Now, I don't know if you want to wait out on this, Peter. You can go ahead and say something.
We'll pass the mic over to you, Peter.
I'll just say quickly, like if the girl is capable of wanting to continue her life and it's still giving her a quality of life while she's alive, then I see no reason to fund it. At some point, she might come to the point where she can't continue, and then a certain decision will have to be made. But there's no point making it worse or ending it earlier than she needs to. That just seems unnecessary. And if they're saying the drug is working, with the caregivers and those people around her, spend every day with her, not some politician who maybe sees her on the rare occasion, then those would be the people to listen to.
Exactly, Peter. Exactly.
And again, this Roy Coop, the big mic drop that he basically says in the article in the Winnipeg Sun is that politicians are elected to make the tough decisions, and we have to say again, the whole reason why David Eby pushed for this Bill 7 and Bill 14 and Bill 15 was so that he could flex his muscles to make really tough decisions, right? And so for him to suddenly say, well, this whole Charlie Pollock thing is morally ambiguous somehow, and I'm just going to turn tail and run away from my responsibilities as a politician, and I'm not going to make the tough decisions anymore. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Really, really ridiculous, right? And it just seems to me, and again, this is my opinion, I realize, but it just seems to me that David Eby has continually been making the wrong decisions, and it seems to me on purpose. He keeps making it's almost like he does a checklist. What's the wrong decision to do here? Check. What's the wrong decision to do here? Check. What's the wrong decision to do here? Check. Every single week that goes by, it's I don't know, but we'll transition and we'll move on to Peter's show now, because I promised that I wouldn't derail the show, but again, I just thought it was really important to say something, because we haven't really been on public record, and I thought it was important that we do be on public record for this story. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's very important to get that message out. Again, to the little girls' parents, I hear you. I know the heartbreaking decision that the government has made. I'm hoping and I'm really pleading with the government to reverse that decision, because it's still not too late to continue the treatment for your daughter. The government can actually revert that decision, right? It's a choice that the government has made. I remember that word way back when. It's all about choices, right? Well, you know what? Let's carry on that legacy. It's all about choices. That's what John Horgan used to say. It's all about choices. Well, let's carry that as a positive way back into the premier seat and say it's all about choices. Let's continue the medication. I'm advocating for continuing the medication because the doctors have said it's working for her.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all saying it's working for her. And I mean, look at the smile on her face.
Yeah, I know.
She's happy.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, the videos I've seen, and the mother's pleading out to the government, please, you can revert that decision. And it's heartbreaking, I know. But it's not too late to revert back and continue on. There is a petition that is floating out there, everybody. If you see it in your Facebook feeds, you'll probably see it on social media. It's everywhere.
Maybe I could try to link that as well. So I'll link the article and the petition afterwards.
Sure. That sounds great. And with that being said, let's transition over to Peter's traveling journey with autism. How you doing, Peter? Let's talk about traveling with autism. Like I said at the top of the show, I mean, we're traveling by wheels, bicycle, or let's just get the wheels rolling, or you're pushing the body to go, or mind going, or whatever it may be. I just try to put some funny stuff in there because why not, right? I mean, but at the same time, I mean, traveling with autism is serious, though. At the same time, but how is it traveling with autism, Peter?
Okay, well, what I'll say was, when I was younger, like I didn't do as much traveling on my own. I mean, our family traveled because I don't know if I mentioned this. I was born in the UK, so I moved when I was quite young to Vancouver, and then eventually I moved to Victoria. So we would travel a lot. We would travel in the Lower Mainland because we would go from Vancouver to Maple Ridge because that's where my cousins and my my other mom's grandma, who's now sadly dead. That was a long time ago. It was like 50, when I was like 15. That was like maybe 30, quite a long time ago now, 25 years ago or so. So she died a long time ago. But my other grandparents, they still lived in the UK. So occasionally we would go visit them in the UK. And it wasn't really much when I was a kid because I would go with my parents and it was easy and stuff like that and things of that nature. As I got to be older, I traveled locally. Like I started maybe not as early as some people, but because I lived fairly close to my school. So one school I lived walking distance from, an elementary school, and then the high school, there was a bus. So I didn't really need to take the regular city bus. But then later I got a job and it was downtown, but I didn't live downtown. I lived way in the Sandwich area. So my parents were like, okay, maybe start taking the bus more because they didn't want to drive me every time. So I took the bus and figured out what routes to catch, and I just figured out where to get off, and then I knew where to get off, and then I would walk the rest of the way because I was close. I'd already walked. I just asked the bus driver where the stop that I need to get off was, and then he told me, and I was able to get off at that stop, and I knew at that stop because that area was more familiar to me.
Yes.
But then as I got older, I started to do some more traveling, like further away traveling. It really started more when I was started getting involved in like organizations, like autism organizations that were doing, like I heard about conferences that were further away, and I wanted to go to these conferences, but they were not like close by. They were there's one conference that's really good called Inclusion BC Conference, and that's obviously BC, so they located in Vancouver, but they have the conference throughout British Columbia. And at the time, it was in Nanaimo, but I didn't know anybody or get a ride or anything. I didn't know if I wanted to go to it, but it sounded great. And then they also had funding, like actual money to cover people's expenditures. Like you pay for the conference, you pay for but they want people with disabilities to come to it because it's not a cheap conference. So that would defeat the purpose if it was all, because there's a selection of people that go to it. There's like some people are people with disabilities, they call them self-advocates. Other people are care workers or like work with people, and then other people are like parents and stuff. So there's multiple workshops that cover multiple ranges, like they would some housing, some stuff like that. But anyways, so I just decided I wanted to go, and I looked it up, and I got all the funding, and then I was able to find a hotel in Nanaimo that wasn't that expensive. They were allowing me to get a hotel as well, but then my parents had, so I found a cheap hotel. And they even cover your meals. Like you have to get a meal allowance, and they'll even pay, like you just get the receipts and you send them back, and they'll give you the money back. So the
Oh,
whole thing, nothing to pay for. But they have limited funding, so not every year you're going to get covered. Like they prioritize people that are like doing the workshops or others haven't gone before. But anyway, so I found out, and I took this bus. It's like a transit bus, and it goes from Victoria, and it drops you off in the town of Nanaimo. I can't remember, somewhere in the town of Nanaimo.
Duncan, yeah.
And then, ironically, I met somebody because apparently it's really strange. It like drops you off in Nanaimo, but then you have to pick it up like at the ferry or something. It's very confusing. I don't know why. Anyway, so I was talking to someone. So I said, oh yeah, this other person, they live in Victoria too, and they're going back, and like maybe they can give me a ride. And so they were able to give me a ride. And it was I think the idea of going to a conference like this is very important because I could have just stayed in my own town, but I met other people from all over BC, and it was different at first. Like I wasn't unsure because I didn't know anyone specifically, but it was all the people were either people, as I said, with disabilities or workers or stuff. So it was a very friendly conference. They have a lot of stuff to help people to make sure their travel is well done, whatever accessibility they require. So it's not scary. Like it's a little scary if you don't like know anyone. You're gonna meet, but the people there are very friendly and again very helpful with all the meals and all the stuff. So yeah, it's like really important that I think people do this because sure you could just stay in your own town and only stay with the friends you know, but I think it's important to travel out to a place and see others and get to know others that have similar interests or other things you wouldn't have ever met in your own individual town.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're trying to travel by, they have Vancouver Island. I mean, as you know, Peter, there's two modes transportation really. Actually, well, there's three, but the other one's seasonal. I don't know why Wilson's used to be year round. Now it's all seasonal, and who knows when they run. I mean, I looked in there, there's no update. So, but anyway, they have the Island Link, which is a van that runs. Just for people that are maybe not familiar, it's a van that will pick you up in Victoria. It goes all the way across Island, all the way up to Prince Rupert, I believe it is. But it branches off into different areas. But it's not cheap; it's expensive.
No, it's what I was going to say is it's $45.
Yeah.
And well, again, as I said, what I did when I went to include to BC, is I got the receipt and I sent it back to them and they covered the cost of that. But what I was going to say was I'm also traveling on Friday up to Nanaimo for an event the next day, like a vegan a festival. There's a huge festival in Nanaimo on Friday that I'm going to be traveling to. The festival's on Saturday, but I'm going on Friday because I'm going to stay the night with someone. I found a place to stay for free. But I did look again into the island bus, but this time I got to pay for myself. So I thought, well, rather, since I have that day off, Friday, normally I go to a volunteer job, but I'm going to take that off. So since I have the day off, I'm going to do the regular city bus, which is kind of ridiculous because I have to spend about, if you drive to Nanaimo, it's maybe about an hour and a half to 2 hours. But if you take that Island bus, it's about 2.5 hours. But if you take the regular city bus, this is again, if all the links, the connections meet up. But I did some research on Google and it was literally something like 3.5 hours to get from Victoria. Well, again, they also included my house. That's only a 5-minute bus ride.
Yeah.
But then from downtown, you got to go to Duncan. That's about an hour and a half. None of it's like straight down the highway. It's a bit more or less direct. About an hour and a half to Duncan, and then you got to wait a little bit to connect to another bus. And if they meet up, if you go at a different time, it could be up to 5 hours because you got to go on the Mill Bay ferry or who knows. But if I coordinate it during the day at the peak times, it could be about 3.5 hours. I mean, I don't really want to spend 3.5 hours, but it saves me because I got this free BC bus pass that works on the entire BC.
But
which
the
is
problem
so.
thing with that is going from Victoria to Cowichan, which is Duncan.
Yeah.
That would be the number 66
Mhm.
express bus.
Route
Yeah.
The commuter bus, but
66.
it's on strike right now since February 8th, and
Yeah.
it's ongoing strike, and it's
And we haven't really done a podcast about that either, but
Yeah.
that's a really ongoing thing as well. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
right. Will the
unfortunate.
strike be able to go? Does the number 66 bus get affected by the strike?
It's actually right now it's being suspended until further notice because it's operated by Cowichan Transit, which actually, just so that all our viewers and listeners know, it's Transdev Canada, which is a French company from France who runs is contracted out by BC Transit to provide the service for in Cowichan in BC in Canada, but they're contracted out by BC Transit to provide that service. A French company. So Transdev Canada is not being fair to their employees and to the citizens of British Columbia, the ones who live on Vancouver Island, because people's needs, they don't just stop just like that because of the labor dispute. In my view, we need to make sure that the transit is reliable, it's dependable. It needs to be to, and you need to be able to get to and from the community in one business day, not be able to go one direction and be stranded in your community and not be able to have accessible transit. But
it's already not great as is, and yet now it's okay. Well, thanks for letting me know. I'll look into that to make sure in case it affects that 66 bucks. I don't want to get stranded.
You know what, Peter, I wanted to like rewind the tape a bit because you said a moment, sort of at the beginning of the show here, you said that it does take courage sometimes to step out of your comfort zone and try these trips on your own.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say volunteer my own experience with that because, when I was young, like I went over to the Vancouver Island a lot, particularly Nanaimo as a kid. But one area that I never went to as a kid, ironically, was right downtown Victoria. I never actually went right downtown Victoria until it was 2001 when I worked for the Ministry of Transportation. I had to go there for a ministry conference, like a technological conference, because I was working as a data management tech for the Ministry of Highways, and so again I had never gone to the actual downtown core, like the city of Victoria. I'd never been there, and so here I was going by myself. Nobody by myself, never been there in my life. Kind of, and how old was I? I don't know, like I was like 32, I think, 31. So I was still not like I was young, but I was still kind of a little bit freaked. This is the first time I'm going there. Never been there in my life. I'm going there by myself. It was kind of a little bit scary, a little, even as a 31-year-old, but I have to say that I pushed myself out of my comfort zone as Peter alluded to, and it was a great experience because one of the really cool things that happened in my case was I met this totally wonderful elderly couple right away on the ferry, and they just I don't know, they were like 80 something, and just really wonderful couple. They reminded me of my own grandparents, and they said, "Oh, well, where are you going?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to this meeting for the Ministry of Transportation. Never been to Victoria in my life. I'm a little bit scared. Actually, I don't know where I'm going." And they said, "Oh, we know where that is." And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to this hotel. I have no idea where that is either." And they're like, "We know where that is." And so they said, "We'll drive you there. We'll drive you there, and we'll show you where your hotel is. We'll show you where the office is." And they did, and they were so awesome. It's one of those things where it's one of those things where I believe in guardian angels. Like I believe that God intervenes on certain things, and it was one of those magical things where it's just like, it's like I'm gonna do this for you, and it was really great, and I had a blast, and I had like again I had no idea where I was going, but I remember when I got there I was like, I think the legislature buildings are that way, and I just started walking, and sure enough they were they were there, but I had no idea where I was going, but it was so fun, it was so fun,
Well,
had a
But yeah,
blast.
right. So
yeah, go ahead, Peter. Sorry.
okay, well, anyways, what I was getting back to what I was saying was, and you were mentioning about getting out of your comfort zone. Yeah, sometimes, I mean, with traveling with any kind of thing is very challenging. But what I want to get make a point about is invisible disabilities. Now, I think a lot of places have done very good job with physical disabilities, like wheelchair ramps and other stuff. But I don't think they've done as good a job with invisible disabilities. Now, if you will know what invisible disability is, like, well, autism is a neurological disability. It's also invisible disabilities that might include pains that you don't see. But neurological disabilities, in particular, I don't think have really been that well done because people aren't like they see someone and like you go to an air. The first time I went, I used to obviously travel with my parents on the airplane, but then one time I wanted to go to this conference, right? And it's a long story. There was a thing and it was in the UK and I wanted to go. And I knew there were people there I was going to go and see and meet up with, but I didn't really, it was kind of scary for me. So I wanted to, I went now. Apparently now, I didn't know this at the time, would have maybe helped me, or maybe it wasn't even available at the time, but there's a new program where if you have an invisible disability at the airport, you can get like a badge or something. I think it's like Sun program or something.
Okay.
And basically any kind of invisible, like a brain injury, like an autism, any kind of invisible disability, and they will treat you differently, not like a kid, but they'll treat you like they know you have this invisible disability. When you get to the thing, if they see you acting a bit erratic or like a bit nervous, they won't assume you're some bomb guy or something because
Yeah.
they'll see the badge. So because they are more trained, and so I think if you just do a bit of, I don't know how many airports will do this, but I think if you are traveling with an invisible disability of any kind, it's very important that you call up the airport or contact somebody and say, look, I've got this invisible disability. Is there anything, like, because there's like, if you actually, ironically, if you look up the symptom, like what to look for if there's someone's a bomb person, and you also look up autism, some of them actually overlap. Like they're actually crossing over. So people might say, oh, this guy's acting nervous. Maybe he's hiding a bomb in his bag. Well, no, because that's just some people, and again, like a brain injury or something. And so I think it's a lot important ideally they should be educated in the first place on this, but if you know you're traveling, just do a little preparation, get yourself contact the airport, the place you're going to go to, and say, look, I've got this invisible disability, autism, brain injury, whatever. And they will make sure, hopefully they'll make sure they can, accommodate so you get like some more time or you can go on the plane early or just like whatever, that kind of thing. Like you want to, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good, very good explanation on that, Peter. Because I remember when I traveled on the Via Rail, I let them know well in advance, about my disabilities. And I mean, they're extremely accommodating because they need to know in advance so that they can actually prepare. I mean, they put you in a cart and they drive you all the way down. There's a lot of cars on the train, you can imagine. So they drove us all the way down, which was nice. And they actually loaded our luggage in. Do you need help with this? They bent over backwards, and I find that's really good for customer service. For that, right?
Can I say about Via Rail? Yeah, because I was going to mention Via Rail. So here's what happens. You have another friend. His name's Ross, and he has an autism as well. But he really likes to ride the train. Like I'm kidding you not. He's ridden the Via Rail over 100 times. I'm not making this up.
Okay,
he has the most amount of travel for a passenger.
You have to be his friend, Brent.
Yes.
Yeah, he's amazing. Anyways, so basically what I'm saying is he had traveled a lot in the train, And he said, "Oh, Peter, do you want to go on the train?" He's like, "Well, it's kind of expensive. I can't really afford it." And he said, "Oh no, because when you go on the train, he needs to bring a worker with him.
Right.
He doesn't have so needs. He needs he doesn't need to like dressed or anything. He just needs to remind him, oh, this is the time you take your medication. Just make
Yep.
sure everything's safe in case there's an incident."
Yep.
Whatever, and stuff like that. So it's pretty minor. So he doesn't. So any friend could take care of that. And so I said, okay, you want to go on the train with me? And I was like, what do I do? Oh, just a reminder, whatever medication. And so we went on the train, and then we did it. And again, like I said, they come on the train. They say, oh yeah, you're his worker. What do you need? What can we assist you with? He's a slightly larger guy, so he said if the train ever derailed or something, we would have extra assistance getting him out of the train and that kind of stuff. And they just they do really. I think Via Rail is one of the better places to travel if you have a disability because they're completely like in a wheelchair. They have a whole entire disabled cabin, for
Yeah.
example,
Right.
with showers and everything. We didn't need that because we're not that. We just need to make sure he's
I
on the
do.
bottom bunk
I do.
because he has trouble climbing up the stairs
Yeah.
to the top bunk. So I stayed on the top bunk and he stayed on the bottom bunk. And then we just again, as I said, he's gone over 100 times on the train. He knows the staff very well, and they're very friendly. They come and go, "Oh, hey Ross, how's it going? Yeah, you're a great guy." And so they meet him on the train station, and then he chats to them. And yeah, I mean, unfortunately, since I want to say them, unfortunately, since the whole pandemic thing, we used to have a car, and it was a I don't know if how long when you traveled on the train yourself, but they had this car. It's called the Panorama car,
Yep. Yep.
and it was a car they would couple on, and in Edmonton, and it was a domed car
Yep.
where it had these beautiful seats and
Yep.
these glass roofs, and as you traveled like towards Lake Louise and the through into Jasper, you'd see all the views because there was big glass around it. It also protect you from the sun as well because it had like shading, like a sunglasses kind of shading thing, and it was just like really nice to see it was probably one of the best ways you can see. Now, unfortunately, now if you want to see the sites, you have to pay like $3,000-$4,000 and go on another train called the Rocky Mountaineer. I mean, I don't
Oh,
know, maybe one day I'll save up for that, and who knows, maybe I'll go. I don't know.
I
Bit
remember
expensive.
when I was on the train, there was a little child. He was I guess he was about 6 or 7 years old, and he was with his mom and dad and his grandpa. He was traveling with them, and they had a sightseeing a person up there in the dome car, kind of describing all the different areas of great scenery for the tourists. And I was like, oh, great. And, I've heard this speech before, right? But I thought, okay, this is interesting. And this little child, he's up there, but he loved trains. He goes, I love trains. And he interrupted the announcer. He goes, I love trains. He goes, well, I do too. That's why I work on the train. Right. He goes, but you know what? This is a better train than Rocky Mountaineer. Why is that? Why? Because Rocky Mountaineer is expensive and it sucks. And I was like, whoa. I couldn't believe the child. He goes, wow.
Well, and another thing, Brent, is that it's true that the CNIB gives sight impaired people a bit of a rebate on the train as well. Is that correct?
Yes. How Peter described is that any service attendant that accompanies another person with a disability, they can travel for free. And so I took Sonia along. She enjoys train travel now. She had never traveled by train in her life. And so when I get the opportunity to travel again, I really would love to travel on the train. You travel the cheapest way that you can. I mean, I was fortunate enough last time when I went. I mean, it was taking care of that to do that myself. There's cheap accommodation. Like you can go by coach seating, or if you can get accommodation and you can price it out right, it's actually by the time that you buy your food, like it can actually, it's actually almost cheaper just to get your accommodation because now it's included with that.
You know what to say about that? Okay.
Yeah.
So basically on the train, they have here's what they have on the train on Via to choose from. They have coach seating, which gets you one seat and no meals included or nothing. You can buy like little meals, but they're not that great. And then they have some coffee, again, not that great, but you can buy it. And it's better than, say, an airplane seat. It reclines fairly far, but not that great. And so you have to sleep in your seat. And then the second option is what's called a berth. Now that means in the wall, during the day, they reduce it down to a seat. But at night, a staff will come, probably when you're having your meal, your dinner, and they will lift the seat up, and then they will lift the second one, and they will bunk on the top, bunk on the bottom. And a curtain is semi-private, like a curtain goes across. So you don't like someone can see you as they walk by, but it's so semi-private. The next option would be cabins for one or cabins for two. Cabins for one is a bed, and it lowers down at night and up during the day, and then your seat there. And then there's cabins for two. You get your own bathroom, a small sink, no shower, that's down the hall. And then you get the bunks again, and then they are in the wall and they lower down. During the day, they're just chairs you can sit on. Although there are lots of seats around benches and places, and there's domes you can sit and places you can sit throughout the train. And then if you really have the money, I've never done it because it's way too expensive, but there's Prestige, which is basically a full wraparound couch, full down Murphy. Usually that's for two people because it's a full down Murphy bed, and so couples usually take it. But you were mentioning about the food. Now, yes, be honest, it's almost better to just do the beds in the wall, the berths, because you get like literally a whole breakfast. Then you get, first, when you get on the train, they actually give you what's called a welcome reception. So you get like either some sparkling champagne or something non-alcoholic, and then canapes. And then then dinner, they have like a full dinner with a soup and salad, then a main entree, then a dessert, and they'll accommodate, I mean, most dietary needs most of the time. Yep. And then lunch is again a soup and a salad, and an entree and dessert. And then breakfast. Now, lunch and dinner, you have to book your time, but breakfast is between, I don't know, it's a certain time. Like I think it's like 6 to 10 or something. I don't know exactly. Right. And then that is just one thing, and they have a selection, and then you'll get all these like soft drinks. So really, if you're wanting to, I've never done coach because I really don't want to. No, that's not true. One time we did coach a small distance, but that wasn't an overnight thing. We just did a small distance.
Vancouver coach. You know what works and what doesn't work. And
Well, one thing I wanted to mention, it's important right now. It doesn't help me personally, but the Prime Minister has done what's called this new program. It's called the Canada Strong Pass. Right. I think you've heard of this. And it's great for families because he's obviously trying to keep people staying in Canada and visiting Canada. So all the Via Rail, a coach, unfortunately, not sleepers, but just for coach, I believe, will be completely free for kids. You have to go with an adult, but if you have like 3 kids, that's a big savings, right? So all kids under 18 are completely free in coach, and all youth between 18 and 24, I think it's like 25 or 50% off. Yeah. So if you're just like traveling from, say, Toronto in the coach to, say, like Ottawa, that could be a very big savings. And then all the museums are also free for kids as well. So, and there's some other discounts for other people. Yeah.
And anyone over 24, if you're a person with disability or or seniors, you have to pay full price, unfortunately. But that's not part of the Travel in Canada program that the federal government put out there. I think they misstepped on that one. They should have.
It would have been nice if it also included some disabled people as well. But again, it's only. But I will say, okay, now about the museums, I will say something interesting. There's a program, very important. It's called Access to Entertainment, and I don't know if you've heard of this program.
I have.
Okay, so what it basically means is, you get a card, and so anybody that has a worker or anything, there's this myriad number of places. I use it mostly at the movie theater, but it myriad places like in Victoria, you go to Butchart Gardens. When I was in Winnipeg, I went to an amazing place called the Museum of Human Rights, which is a museum all about rights for people throughout the history. A lot of great, very moving stuff about what others have done to get better rights for deaf people, LGBTQ, black people, so many. It's great. Anyway, so I went there basically. I said, I didn't even need to show my card at that place. They just said, oh, you have a worker, your worker's free. But other places, like you show the card, and then a whole person comes in for nothing, for free.
Hmm.
And so
Well,
that's there. Yeah.
one thing I wanted to ask Peter, I
Mhm.
mean, we're kind of focusing a lot on Canada and Canada first,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
but you did say
Mhm.
that you've been to the UK,
Yes.
and does that include Scotland? Have you been to Scotland? Because
Okay.
that's my
So
heritage, by the way.
here's where I've gone. Okay, here's what in what I'm trying to think of the details. Okay, so I went the first time on my own to Scotland for this conference that I don't go to anymore. Long story, but I
Mhm.
met some people there, and I went there, and I think it was 2025, something like that, 2025, right? Okay, so I went there, my mom drove me to the airport, and he at least saw me to the airport, and then I went through security, and then I knew what gate I had it all, and what I really helpful. I don't know how I would have done it before this, but Google Maps and stuff on my phone. Like I just typed in the location, and even in a foreign country. So when I got off the airplane, I went to this kiosk and got like a SIM card, so then it worked in the UK, right? And then
Mhm.
I caught a train. I think I went to the UK, England first, and then I caught a train, or maybe it was flying. I can't remember. One time I took a train, one time I flew. But I went and I got into Scotland, and then I found my hostel place by using my phone, and it told me like where to go. And to me, that's like for a person with disability, that's very helpful because I don't really
Mhm.
do well with like looking at a map and guessing. I just like this told me to go this way, this told me to go this way, so I did it, and like I
Yeah,
got to exactly where I was supposed to go to.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
then
So,
another time, oh, sorry, you gonna say something?
no, I was just gonna say, like, you can continue. I don't
Yeah.
want to derail you, but I wanted to say too, like, um, do you have a like, if we talk comparison contrast between Canada and say UK,
Mhm.
do you have any kind of um, social commentary, like some things that stick out, like a big difference between the UK versus Canada as far as like
Well,
attitudinal things?
I will say it's like busier. It's more like I will say if you have sensory like issues, it's kind of like
Okay.
overwhelming with all like the stuff. I mean, they have more. I think, well, obviously in London, obviously, but in London they have amazing transportation like all over the place
Hmm.
because it's then basically you can travel on trains, buses. It's very, very good, and they run like all the time. Like you miss one comes seconds later.
Oh, wow.
Hmm.
That's one great thing. In terms of how it's like different, it's in England. I personally, the only time, no, I'm trying to think if I've ever traveled on my own. I have traveled to France. That's a non-speaking English country. And I'm trying to think if I've gone anywhere else. No, I've never gone anywhere except for France. It's a non-speaking English country, and I only went to France, Paris with my parents when I was young. And then one time we went for my grandpa's 90th birthday. First we went to Paris, then we went to a countryside with all our cousins and stuff. And that was we just stayed in like a little villa in the countryside. But yeah, no, I can't imagine. Personally, I would not want to travel to a non-speaking country unless I went with somebody who was
Hmm.
very knowledge because it's okay in the UK because I have again relative there and I know
Yeah.
people, so it's like and again they speak English, well, sort of English, like
Yeah.
English. Sometimes it can be like they say a word and you're like it's technically English, but doesn't sound like
Yeah.
the English you know. But anyway,
Well,
so
I mean, I'll share this funny little story. I mean, maybe it's not going to be funny. I don't know, but um, a couple of podcasts ago, I talked about finding a place for a cheap massage. So
mhm,
they're like I was saying that if you have cerebral palsy, it's really good to get
sure,
regular
yeah,
massage if you can. And
right.
and there's a place by my house that has really cheap massage, and and a lot of the workers there are workers that don't speak English. Like a lot of them are Chinese actually. And so you go in there, you lay down on the table, and the first thing that they do is they put the phone in your face and say, speak what you want kind of thing. And then I'll say something and then it translates what I'm saying into like Chinese, and
Oh,
so they keep putting their phone in like, what do you want? And like, and then but then like if you're not speaking clearly enough or something, and like, and then they're all confused, and they're like, they keep putting the phone in my face like, say it again, say it again. Anyway, that's
Yeah,
just kind of a funny thing.
I will say you're mentioning technology. I will say I think that's a really important thing. Again, it's another thing comes back. Unfortunately, the technology is very good for traveling, I think, because there's lots of stuff. Like here's an example. If you're deaf, there's actually these gloves you can wear, and you wear them, and when you do the sign language, it'll just immediately speak the sign language.
I've heard about that actually. Yeah.
yeah.
That's another
Yeah.
problem. See, people
Yeah.
think, oh, it's all this technology, great, but it's not funded or covered because sort of experimental. Like people
Mhm.
know that Stephen Hawking had one of those talking computers. Well, people don't realize like that's not a normal. Everyone
Yeah.
who is nonverbal doesn't just given a talking computer. You have to
Yeah.
apply for it. It's not always a guarantee. So
Exactly.
I think if the government was starting to because it sort of it can help people to get out. Like technology can really help you to travel further, get to where you need to get to, and really broadens your. Again, you talk
Hmm.
about the phone. If you go to a foreign country,
Hmm.
that could be really helpful, and you speak it,
Yeah.
and you tells you. I mean, I think that's probably just like an app on your phone you can download.
Hmm.
But there are other technologies, and it really helps people because before that, I don't know if people you realize this people with disabilities used to be trapped in institutions.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like they didn't get to travel at all. They just got to stay in their institution, and it was just not feasible because the world was not set up at
Yeah.
all for traveling with disabilities. And people would again, you'd see. I don't know if you've seen the movie. Have you seen the movie Rain Man?
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, like the scene when he literally just one time his brother loses him for a few seconds, and he goes across the street, and the light says walk, and then it says not walk. He doesn't realize just most people just run across, get there as
Hmm.
fast as possible. But he thinks, well, now I got to stop, and you're in the middle of the street now, and so
Hmm.
nobody
Oh,
understands what autism is because he was never able to go out of his institution. So I think
Hmm.
two things. I think traveling out of your community is important because people don't see if you're not visible within the world, then no one's going to learn about these disabilities because you're never
Yeah.
there, you never go to those places.
yeah.
So if you just stay within, you're sure if you stay within your community will know you, and that's fine. But then the rest of the world and I also, for me personally, I like to travel. I like to meet people. I mean, some people
Hmm.
are different. They might want to go on a cruise. They might want to do something more, not just stay in their group. But I like to go to events that I find that where I could meet like others that are similar. Maybe go with one person, but then also at the same time,
Mhm.
like in 2019, I went to an event in the UK, a vegan campout event, and I met other people and I learned about this stuff and I learned about things. But I was concerned about going at first, but then I found out, oh, some people go on their own. They travel individually. And so I looked it up and
Hmm.
I just was able to carefully figure out what buses I needed and where I was going to stay. And then, last time I went, fortunately, because of the whole pandemic thing, I wasn't able to go as often because it kind of mucked everything
Hmm.
up. But the last time I went, luckily I was able to stay at my sister's house for a period of time because she lives in London. So
Well,
that would save me some money there. And
yeah. Yeah, and you said another important thing, Peter, a moment ago,
mhm,
like you're a bit younger than both me and
mhm,
Brent,
yep,
but like that's one thing that I really remember growing up as a kid. Like I would go to the shopping malls and stuff when I was like 7 and 8 and stuff with my parents,
mhm,
and on crutches and stuff like that, and I would never see anybody with a disability. Like I would go out to a lot of different public places like
yep,
shopping malls. I wouldn't see one person with I would be the only person with a disability
yep,
that I would see. I would just see
yep,
myself and nobody else.
absolutely.
And I thought that's weird. But like Peter was saying, like back in the day,
Yeah.
like all those people with disabilities, a lot of them were locked away, right?
Locked away in
They were
institute.
locked
Yeah.
away in institutions. Yeah.
I
And so
remember
it,
when I was a lot younger. going to visit my dad. He actually lived in Winnipeg, and so I would jump on the Greyhound when Greyhound Canada was in existence then. But I went by myself. I mean, that was scary to me. It was scary because I'm going to be traveling halfway across the country on a Greyhound by myself, and I was so nervous, Peter. And I mean, while getting on, and I was, the bus driver, he knew, like, I'm traveling by myself. I mean, I was a young adult, but still traveling by myself. And he says, not to worry, young man. You just go with the flow, enjoy life. I mean, because you need to get out of your bubble zone, right? You need to kind of go across and experience the country. I mean, a part of it. I said, well, I remember when I was a kid, I said, I traveled by, by train, by the Via Rail. He goes, well, this is Greyhound, that's Via Rail. And maybe in the future you'll travel by train. He says, I mean, I could turn it into a train, right? I'm like, yeah, right, turn a bus and train. He's joking with me. But I mean, I go as fast as a train along the prairies. I go, really? He goes, oh, yeah. But getting to Saskatchewan, I mean, it was windy, really windy. But I didn't know where to go. Like we got there early. I had like an hour and a half, almost hour and 40 minutes. Whole group of us on there. They included me, like all inclusive. Yep. They joined us for dinner, and they were going to a restaurant. It's a little restaurant there, and sure. So we went there, and it was nice. Right? I mean, they made me feel welcome. I was kind of scared because I'm thinking, well, I didn't know where I was going, and I didn't want to get lost. They're like, no, you won't get lost. So because everything is there, but being welcomed. And I said, well, I have a disabilities. I mean, some of them are hidden disabilities too. And they're like, yeah, you're just you. Hey, yeah. I mean, they just treat me just as one of them. I mean, nothing different. I'm saying, oh, yeah, I'm sorry that, you're having to go through that in your life or something, like talking to you like you're a kid or something. No, I never once went through that when I was traveling. And even on the Via Rail, getting back to Via Rail though, same thing. Like it was great. We all kind of mingle with each other, joking around, and it was almost like a big party with some of them, especially the Prestige area, Peter. I mean, you got to only go into the Prestige area, into the dome car, the
park car in the back,
park car, and we could only go in there at a certain time.
Yeah, in the summertime they limit it because they want to save it for people who are in Prestige. But then the winter time it's open all the time. So because there's less people in the winter.
Yeah, we went in the
Show me the money. Show me the money.
But we went in the late spring, but we got to go there in the evening, which is fine. The sun was still hasn't went down, and so it was great. But the difference between that and just a regular accommodation of a berth or a cabin rather than Prestige. I mean, I asked one of the attendants working on there, like, how much does a Prestige go for? He says, I don't even make that kind of money, and I work for Via Rail. I could not afford that. I said, how much? He goes, you got $20,000? Because he said that's what they can go for.
It's something like 10, 12,000. It's very expensive. It's most of the people that travel in it are older retired couples who have saved up, and it's a one-time trip. But so it's not a thing I'd have. But it's not, to me, I just like the traveling just on the train. As long as I have a berth in the wall, they're actually very comfortable. I don't think you really need to go. I mean, if you want to just enjoy the sceneries, and most of the time I'm not even in my seat anyways, because there's all these places like dome cars to sit.
Like areas that you can go and sit in there and get it.
You know what, Brent? That's another reason why Michael Bublé should become a member on our channel.
Yes.
So that he can pick the Bublé membership, and then he can fund our trip. You and I can go on a train trip, and I can get the Prestige car and have my own shower.
Well,
it'd be great.
Remember that.
You know what? We're almost at the end of the hour, Brent. So I don't know if you wanted to wrap up.
Remember all those lights on the train? I did that one footage down there.
Oh yeah.
There was a lady that was coming out of the Prestige out of there, and she's like, "Get that camera out of here! Don't." Of course, it blanked out. I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not filming you. It's all the lights along there." It's like, And there was nothing
Yeah.
extravagant about it, though, everyone.
Yeah.
Great if it works for you and you want to do prestige.
Well,
Fine.
I mean,
But,
for somebody like me in a wheelchair, like I would be kind
oh,
of forced to do that, well, wouldn't I? To
Well,
be
you can
um,
go,
honest, right? To
you can
be
get the
honest.
disabled, you can get the disabled cabin that they lift you up right into the disabled cabin, and
yep,
that has its own shower, and that doesn't
Right.
cost anything, any extra.
Oh,
It's
okay. Well,
limited.
that's good.
You
That's
have to
good.
book it in advance because there's only one of them, so it's
Oh,
not.
okay.
You can't. You might be filled,
Mm.
but I will say in 2030, I'm hearing a rumor that they're going to remodel the entire fleet. And
yes,
it might make it a little even more accessible because right now you can't wheel your wheelchair down the hallway
yeah.
because
Mm.
the hallways are too narrow. So you go
There's,
into the disabled cabin, and then you pretty
Mm.
much have to stay. They'll bring your meals, and you'll get a. It's a
Oh,
nice
wow.
cabin.
So you're
My
just
mom's
basically
friend did.
stuck there the whole time.
otherwise,
We don't
Stay
really
there.
you'd get stuck in that corridor.
you kind of have to stay in that area because, as I said, the hallways are old, they're narrow.
Wow.
But as
Yeah.
I'm hearing
Yeah.
a rumor, they're gonna. You never know, they might widen them. I don't know what the plan is,
Okay.
but in 2030, in 5 years, they're gonna and they might bring back that panorama car because it died because
Mm.
of the pandemic and never came back. And so
Mm.
there's stuff there in 2030 is the plan. So yeah, wait
Okay.
till
That's
then.
good to know.
Yeah, it's gonna be
But if
very.
we're wrapping up, I'll just say about traveling. You don't have to travel like really. We're talking about the Via Rail. That could be out of people's budgets. But I think
Mm.
just any kind of like, for example, you can get a BC Parks camping pass, and you
Mm.
can just go to any BC Parks in the whole of BC, and just going to another, just like go over to Victoria. You can just take a 30-minute ferry to like Salt Spring Island, even just that little amount. But just maybe if you're nervous, start with something small. Just like go
Mm.
to again Salt Spring Island, maybe for the day,
Salt
or
Spring
then
Island is beautiful. I've been
yeah,
there
and
once. It's
then
great. Love
try
it there.
something else, try something a little further away.
Mm.
Just do whatever is like in your comfort zone, but
Mm.
don't go too crazy because it might go overwhelm you. But just stick sort of that kind of thing. Yeah.
If you start small and you kind of just work your way toward like a smaller community go to, and then just kind of start
Yeah.
slowly broaden your horizon a little bit further out, and it works for you, great. And then just keep on just kind of exploring new areas.
Mhm.
Just travel across our beautiful country. As you can, and if you can, because
Yeah.
there's so many neat areas that you can go to by public transportation. Yes, our networks need to be fixed up a lot better. I love to see something equivalent to Greyhound. Maybe not Greyhound going all the way across the country, but having inter-regional transportation networks where they'll connect up across the country.
Mhm.
It still pisses me off that that's gone now. I mean, it's been gone for years now, but it just still
Yeah,
pisses me off that it's
that was
gone.
one of my favorite
Yeah.
ways of traveling because you could go and check out other communities, right? You could get off and hey, you got like 45 minutes for your dinner stop. Maybe you got like, I don't know, like a Dairy Queen or somewhere. You could go and just grab something in the middle of some hick town somewhere.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's neat though, and that's why I like about the train too, because you can actually sometimes you'll have an extra layover time somewhere. And even on like Amtrak, when we went on the US side, right? Same thing. But that's another topic, another show.
I'm gonna date myself again, Brenton. I know you know this. Like back in the day when I would go to Dairy Queen, they always had the Dennis the Menace, right? On the side of the
Yeah,
cups. Remember
yeah,
the Dennis the Menace cartoons? They were
yeah.
all be on the side of the cups on all the cups. And it was great. You look at they did Dennis the Menace.
Or
Yeah.
how about the dip cones? Eh? You just dip it
The
down.
dip cones, yeah,
I
yeah.
was thinking, well, how do they do that? So ice cubes would go and they go doop and then doop. It's all hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I want to thank Peter for coming
Mhm.
on today. It was an awesome show. Yeah, we talked a lot about autism, traveling with autism, and different modes. Like if people want to travel by train, go for it. If you want to travel by plane, planes, trains, automobiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Just explore the world as you can. Explore Canada. Go to the UK if you can. Go to the US. Go wherever you want to go, wherever the sites may take you. And know that your disability is who you are. Don't change yourself for nobody. Governments have to accept a person for who they are. Treat them with dignity and respect. We are citizens. Just show it. Show us that you care. Show us that you can make it more all inclusive for everybody, regardless of their income or their abilities. just be aware that you can have a disability at any time in your life. It can either be physical, it can be invisible. There's all sorts of disabilities. Just stop with the barriers. Like reduce down the stigma, and then eliminate it. So basically, have a game plan and then completely abolish it. Better yet.
And let's end with this, Brenton, and say like, don't be afraid to make the hard decisions. We have to say that
Yeah, don't be afraid.
politicians can't be afraid to make the hard decisions, and like we had to start the show off with that, right? And I have to thank Peter again for giving us the 15 minutes at the beginning of the show to talk about that, because you know, it just has to be said.
Yeah,
that
I wanted to correct something I just mentioned. I said reduce down the stigma. Actually, I'm going to rephrase that. Is that eliminate the stigma is what I meant to say. Is because if they reduce, that's kind of like saying the government, well, we're increasing rates. Well, yeah, no, like immediately do it. Like it's more of a adjective, right? And so like I just want to makes sense. Somebody will listen back and say, well, no, you said reduce. Well, no, like we need to eliminate the stigma. We need to eliminate barriers.
Just kind of like that poverty reduction. Like, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Yeah. How about
when you're not actually reducing anything?
Yeah, poverty elimination is what it should be called.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I usually say at the top of the show, like, subscribe, share, and comment. But I'm going to say that now to everybody is that way. I really appreciate your time that you put in listening to our shows. It's great, great audience, a lot of feedbacks. You know, if you'd love to be on the show, I mean, reach out. I mean, you want to be a guest, because we're going to be lining up some more shows. Definitely in the fall too. I mean, there's stuff in the summer that's going to be available for coming on. Brent's taking 2 weeks off. Like next show's on next Friday.
You want to block off a whole next 2 weeks, right? They're basically blocked off. Except our last show is going to be on Friday. We have to say, it's going to be Susan Abel. She's going to talk all about basic income. That'll be coming on Friday, and then it's going to be a full 2 weeks off, right?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the calendar now. So your next show is going to be Susan, and we're talking about Susan Abel, and she's Abel's, I think if I pronounce her name right.
Abel, I think it's Abel or Abel,
yeah, and so she's on Friday, July the 4th, and we're
July the 4th, the American holiday.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about basic income that day. Yeah. And after that, I'm going to be off, and Neil's going to spend some time with family. I'm spending some time locally. Doing some breaking with Brent. I'm going to be doing some coffee time, a little bit of local travel segment. Go visit Neil where we're off on that time. So we're going to be off. We'll rejoin back on the 21st of July. July 21st will be the next available show that will have a time slot. So mark that on your calendars, everybody. If you want to be a guest on that day, you could be the first up.
And we have no idea what that show is going to be. But,
it could be welcome. It could be like that. Welcome back, Carter. Oh, welcome back.
Right. That's right.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
And we're back.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the show will be about then, but maybe it'll be about a show about nothing.
But we really appreciate the people that do tune in, and we appreciate the people that are along for the ride, like Peter Cunnington, you know, like you come on the show, Peter, but you also participate in the chats a lot. And we appreciate everybody that even if you don't come on the show, we appreciate appreciate the active
participation
in the chat. And I have to say, because I had the chat all blocked today because I had my notes, so I wasn't. It's another show where I wasn't really paying attention to the chat, so I'm sorry. But sometimes it's really active and other times not so. But we do appreciate the active participation. Yeah,
it really helps the channel grow a lot, and it's really become very popular. Definitely, just if you're on Twitter, social media, X, I still call it Twitter. If you're on there and you're following the channel, definitely stay up to date on Neil's YouTube channel, because he has a new feature that he puts on their upcoming guests that are coming up. I love it because it's very categorized And
Well, we used to. I mean, we still have a link on the YouTube channel. You'll see a bunch of links. One of the links is you can click a link to our calendar. We have a show calendar,
yep.
and that's actually one of the links. But for people that don't want to say, well, I don't want to click a link for the calendar, that's why I rearranged the YouTube page now, where it's very convenient now. The YouTube added that extra thing where you can actually very conveniently see the upcoming shows. So now I just kind of I have all the shows kind of queued up.
Yep.
If we know it's coming in advance, I just queue them all up. And so instead of going to the calendar now, people can actually just go to the YouTube page and they can see all the upcoming shows already anyway.
Yeah, Brent's
Right?
on this day, and then he's on this day, on this day, and that day. Yeah,
And
I myself.
and if you go to the calendar, you'll see that the next 2 weeks will be blocked off, other than the Susan Abel show.
Yeah,
The next two weeks after that will be blocked off. But again, if you do subscribe to the show, you'll be notified of all the new content. And again, like when you're off on holidays, you'll still be running a whole bunch of like Breaking with Brents and
yeah.
travel segments. And I'll probably do like a food review with my son Jake, or more
Yeah.
gaming stuff. So it's it's a fun channel if you want to subscribe. There's a lot of other fun content besides the podcast. Yeah.
I mean, some of the thanks, and I mean, some of our viewers and listeners that say, "What? He's not going to go on a train trip this time around." No, not this time around. That's going to take time. So, yeah, maybe in the future, near future, I'd like to look at that. I mean, if you want to see us go on a train trip, if you want to be a sponsor for our channel, and you want to have Neil, myself, and Sonia, and well, maybe Peter might want to come along too. I mean,
Michael Bublé will,
and maybe Michael Bublé will.
Michael Bublé will sponsor all of us.
Yes, yeah. There you are.
My friend Ross comes with you.
Oh, and
there you go.
Too.
There you
yeah,
go.
we'll all go together, and
we'll bring the whole gang on. We'll fill up a whole train of just PWD. It'll be the PWD train.
yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, definitely. We'll take the show on the road then. Yeah, we'll be broadcasting live on location. But yeah, I'm definitely just be doing some local travel within the parameters here, and just definitely stay tuned for, like I say, Breaking with Brent segments that come up, and definitely on July 1st there's going to be the fireworks for Victoria. For Canada Day, I'm going to be doing a little bit of segment.
Happy Canada Day, Red.
Do a little bit of recording there. There's going to be a lot of people down there, so I'll have to find a spot to plunk myself down and definitely check out the festivities. Coffee time. Well, you'll be checking out some of the local parks and just enjoying the beautiful nature, whatever it brings about in the area. Could be down at the harbor. I could be anywhere. I could be out in the Squimalt. I could be over visiting Neil.
You could be like Where's Waldo books. Remember the
Where's Waldo? I will be anywhere, and then the mini travel segments. So just stay tuned, and you'll stay up to date on where I am and what's going on. And just every so often I'll be popping those out. So just stay tuned, subscribe. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and thank you.
And thanks, Peter. Thanks
Peter, for you coming on. Greatly appreciated. And yeah, anytime you want to come on, just reach out. We'll get you on. And anyone else wants to come on, definitely reach out. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Here, happy Canada Day.